the author of his latest book, So Help Me Golf, While We Love the Game, the great Rick Riley here in the flesh. Great to see you, Rick.
Wow, great.
Yeah, you are.
I love that. Thank you.
At least I'm using the present tense.
Yes.
Right?
There are some days we're not sure.
Do you know what I mean? It's funny. I don't know if you must have heard this so many different times. We were just talking as you were coming out here that we used to open Sports Illustrated and read the back page first to see what you had to say first before
I
we
get
looked
that
at the
sometimes.
entire
Then I
magazine.
get, when I was at SI, I got every Friday morning your column would come out, and I take it in for my morning dump. So I just want to, I just want to shake your hand. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to shake your hand, but thank you.
You heard that a lot.
Oh, yeah, because it was short. It was like 2 minutes.
Right. But I used to do that all the time. Now I open this up and the page is blank. Couple pages.
But these are all the exact same length of my SI columns because I love that length. You tell like a whole Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 movie in 800 words.
Right.
God bless him, but it's not internet Bill Simmons stuff. It's
right.
You got to get it in and out. And I always loved that discipline of that.
How many columns did you write for Sports Illustrated? Do you know?
God, I wrote them I was there 22 years. I started writing columns after 2 years. I don't know. I think I figured out the other day I've written 2.5 million words, published words.
Published words.
That's a lot of words.
That's a lot of words.
Some of them weren't that good.
What do you mean?
Not all of them were very good.
I mean, if you're gonna write as many columns as you're gonna write, I mean that'll happen.
It's always funny. Like people are like, I've loved every column you've ever written, Riley, until you wrote about Kansas, and then you can just bite me.
Yeah.
Like really? So 10,000 columns not good enough for one?
That's it. That's the way it all works. That's the way it always works.
I guess that's kind of how I feel about Phil Mickelson right now. Like I've always been a Phil guy, not a Tiger guy.
Yeah.
Because Tiger, of course, had the better game.
Yeah.
But Phil had the manners. Phil tipped $100 bills. You've been with him.
Yeah.
I've seen him get out of the car on a rainy night, get his umbrella out, hand it to a bum, give the bum $1,000 in hundreds. I mean, Tiger, you can't even get him to pay for dinner. And so I've always loved Phil, and now he does this, and I'm just so bummed about it. It just depresses me. I mean, I don't think he realizes what he's doing to his legacy.
Well, and that's one of the many things I want to talk to you about here. I've got Rick Riley on the Rich Eisen Show here on NBC Sports on Peacock and Sirius XM Channel 85. And we're about to be rejoined by our terrestrial radio audience. So Help Me Golf is his new book, Why We Love the Game, the New York Times bestselling author here on the program. Let's jump right into it then, because I mean what you just said about Phil needs to be, explored a little bit more here.
Well, if we can explain what it is, the Saudi Arabia started a rival golf league, and they're paying stupid money. They're paying ridiculous money. They gave him $200 million just to play. He can shoot radio stations the rest of his life, 103s, 107s,
yes.
and still get to 200. There's no cuts. He's only got to beat 48 guys. About half of those are guys you never heard of. They play a 3-day deal. It's a shotgun. It's essentially the Walla Walla member guest, but they've gotten some good players, and these guys, and it's hilarious to hear them say, hey, when we ask them, hey, you're taken from a bloody monarchy. These people provided 15 of the 9/11 terrorists. They jail dissenters. They kill gay people. They oppress women. But it's, what are you doing? And they never go, I'm doing it for the money. What they say is, like Phil goes, oh, I know they've been bad. I know they've made some mistakes, but good golf can do a lot of good. Really?
Well, that's
against
something,
a despotism.
Well, Phil, the original quote that he said
Yes.
to Alan Shipnuck
Yes,
was the most honest statement that's been uttered by him
Because
or anyone else on the Live Golf Tour.
He didn't realize he was on the record. There's two Phils. You talk to Phil, and it's a lot of MFs and FUs, and then you go, wait, Phil, this is on the record. I need something. And then he cleans it up for all his 20 sponsors. But he said they're bad MFs. Mm-hmm. They kill gay people, and they killed Khashoggi, the Washington Post columnist. So he's like, no, but I know what good golf can do. Yeah, that's like when Kim Jong-il shot that 34 and everybody stopped starving in North Korea. No, they didn't. That never happened. Golf is not going to fix a bloody monarchy, and that's who you're getting your checks from. So I hope it doesn't stain the white leather seats on your new jet. I'm just disgusted with him and Dustin and DeChambeau and Taylor Gooch and Kevin Numming, they say, oh, we're not politicians. Well, are you human beings? Because these people are a terrible monarchy.
What if somebody came you and offered you the money?
Give me $1 billion, I wouldn't do it. It's easy to say.
Right, that's
Nobody's giving me it. What would you do?
Well, I'd have to think about it, and I've got a real, sense of the world. I would have to think about it.
Couldn't sleep. Couldn't look at myself in the mirror. It would destroy anything I've tried to build. They're talking about kicking Phil and probably Dustin Johnson. Well, Phil's already in the Hall of Fame.
They'd kick him out of the Hall of Fame for this?
People want this. I'm kind of wondering. I got to think about that. Today, the USGA guy, when someone asked him, now will playing and live change how a person, their chances of qualifying, or perhaps the qualifying rules for the U.S. Open, which starts Thursday in Brookline? And the guy said yes. So if the majors start going, you're out. If the Masters says you can't come, I can't imagine this happening. But then they've got real problems.
Well, Rick Raleigh here on the Rich Eisen Show. Again, we had Alan Shipnuck on the other day, and he said that the Royal and Ancient and the Green Jackets down in Augusta want no part of this fight. That they want to have they have one tournament a year. They want the best players. They want those past winners to come, and they will have nothing to do with this.
Probably
and they will
true.
Just continue on as scripted.
It's probably true. There's 5 Masters champions playing this thing.
Right.
There's 9 majors champions. The PGA gives out a lifetime exemption. The Masters lifetime. U.S. Open 10 years. Are they going to say, hey, sorry, DJ and DeChambeau, you won, but you're not allowed here anymore? They've already made the agreement. So I think the PGA Tour is in a world of trouble here.
Well, and that is the case, and because even though I said I would have to think about it, I would eventually side with you on the issue, Rick Riley. But I'm admitting the amount of money. If somebody came to me and said I could go ahead and make more money right now on the spot than you would make ever in the rest of your life doing what you're doing for the employer you currently have, I would sit there and think about it. Then I would think about, what am I going to tell my children? What am I going to tell myself? Where am I going to be doing my business? And I'd stay put.
Right. Your obit would be Rich Eisen, great ESPN sportscaster, practically invented SportsCenter, became a great podcaster, NFL, but switched to the Arabs and was a pariah.
Right.
Which is what you would be.
Correct. And so I would not do that. What I'm saying to you, though, is that there's enough players that I think would think hard about it and then go and join the Live Tour.
Dude, I don't think Dustin Johnson even knows where Saudi Arabia is. He's so dense.
Well, then that's ridiculous. Then
I don't think he does. He's so dense, light bends around him. That's how dense the man is. So but Phil knows. Phil's on record saying they're terrible people and bloody. Oh, but the PGA Tour is way worse. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Well, not dumber than Greg Norman, who you, by the way, quoted earlier in this conversation. He's the one that made it sound like, well, things got done and we're turning the page. Everyone deserves a second chance.
You're right.
He used all of the sports cliches that's normally done for somebody who was driving drunk. You know what I'm saying? Like who had that sort of transgression for their career, or said something that was inappropriate. Not what we're talking about here. He was just, they've done some things and people deserve a second chance. And it's just like, hey, bro, like, are you? And then him. Well,
Greg has always had problems with golf. He got screwed by Bob Tway out of the bunker and Larry Mizer, the most impossible chip I've still ever seen in my life. And Nota Begay and all these people knocked it in and so he's just been bitter. He's always been bitter. He came from a dad who didn't think he should ever been a golf pro. He didn't like the way they treated him. He's very right wing, although this has nothing to do with right wing politics. But he's not going to care that he's taking checks from people that take dissenters and disappear them. And I think it's sad.
But it's still going to change golf, though. I mean, this is not going away.
It's brutal for golf. We're not going to have best versus best very often anymore. The President's Cup is dead, as far as I can tell. The Ryder Cup, will the PGA of America side with the PGA Tour? Because you got to remember, the Tour doesn't control a single major. They don't have any majors. All they have is the President's Cup and the Players and a lot of Buick Opens, which are fine. They build your golf legacy. But they're in real trouble here because they don't control the biggest events.
It seems to me, Rick Riley, similar to the NIL in college football, where it occurred and it sort of came out of nowhere. Nobody had a plan for when it was hitting. It's now left the station and people are still trying to catch up to it, and there's no answer for it. What do you think the answer is?
The answer is the tour, I guess, has got to stop giving money to charity and start having 48-player tournaments, no cut. Stop worrying about the 125th guy and worry about the first guy, keeping them, and take care of the caddies. Give them they don't even have insurance. Put them in a single hotel so they're not staying in these terrible places they stay, and try to keep some of these stars from going, because we're hearing more and more. I mean, if they offer Patrick Reed $50 million,
that's insane. I mean, there's no competing with that.
Patrick Table for One Reed, who nobody likes, it just got $50 million. I mean, you know, I started this with saying I was a Phil guy, not a Tiger guy. I guess I'm a Tiger guy now. I hear he's offered over $500 million, and he didn't go. And you could say, well, yeah, his leg doesn't work. Again, he could shoot phone numbers, 972-6, and still make the money.
Because it's not about the golf.
It's not about the golf. It's just sad.
It's not about the golf at all. I mean, because we were curious, right? We were streaming it.
I watched the first 2 days. I just wanted to see what it looked like.
Yeah.
And it wasn't compelling at all.
No.
There was nothing compelling about it.
No, it's just vapid. It's nothing.
I mean, I was curious to see what a shotgun start in professional, if you will, golf looked like.
Right.
I had no idea what the logos for the teams meant at all.
I mean,
I had no idea.
Is Trump Jr. driving the drink cart? What do we got here? Can you buy mulligans?
The drink cart.
But did you see?
Can we buy mulligans?
Is it
Did you see
closest to the pen?
they were serving pimento cheese sandwiches, and they had music.
It's like
and
the Fire Fest.
And like Phil had a Master's vest on.
You see that? And he blacked it out.
What
was he thinking about that? And by the way, him stepping to the tee with the Otis was real. They played Money. They played the famous.
That wasn't fake?
No, that was real.
Wow.
That wasn't fake.
With the walk-up music.
We thought that might have been fake.
I thought somebody might have edited it, but no, it really happened.
So here's my pitch for the book.
Yes, sorry, we'll get
Give
to
it to your dad and let him be happy, because the Phil book is really well researched and really depressing. Mm-hmm. If you liked Phil, you're going to be really depressed with this book, with the gambling and the way he treats, according to Alan Shipnuck, he treats certain people. I always thought he was a great guy, but this is just fun. Great golf stories. Can I tell you a quick story?
I would love to. Let me reset. Rick Riley here on the Rich Eisen Show. So Help Me Golf, While We Love the Game is the name of the new book. Just in time for Father's Day. You mentioned about giving it to your dad, so that's right around the corner. You have the floor.
These are 80 stories. So I should hate golf. My dad was a drunk golfer, came home violent, broke my mom's nose. We would all hide. We thought golf caused the hell in our lives. But then when I was 11, my brother took me to the range, and it was so much fun, and there was nobody drinking, and guys' dads were there, and they weren't drunk, and I had this probably unhealthy love of the game after that.
Okay.
And so for 40 years, I've been collecting stories that I think you're going to love about golf and the people. Some are emotional, but a lot are just really great. For instance, at Lahinch in Ireland, there's a blind par 3. Now, people in America never heard of this, but you can't see the green. You hit it over the hill and hope there's a green there. And in 1997, 4 people, all Americans, made holes in one on this par 3. They couldn't even see the flag.
What's the distance?
Or the green.
What's the mileage?
I think it was 162.
Okay.
So it was the greatest statistical anomaly in the history of golf, maybe in sports itself.
Right.
That night in the Lahinch bar, it's fantastic. And the bartender's just making Guinnesses left and right, because in golf, you have to buy each other a drink.
Of course.
Everybody in the bar gets a free drink. And he's making, and there's caddies in there that shouldn't be in there, and the townspeople are in there, and it's just madness. And the waitress is making her whole rent in a single month, and everything's fantastic until the bartender's wife comes through the front door holding the ear of their 6-year-old son. And she drags him behind the bar. And she says, "You tell your dad what you were doing this fine day, you little rascal." And he goes, "Oh, I was putting balls in the hole." he was hiding behind a tree, and the ball would come over, and he'd run out, put it in the hole, hide back behind the tree, just so he could see 60-year-old white guys going crazy and ripping off their shirts like Brandy Chastain and riding each other like ponies. And it just, man, he thought it was the greatest thing ever. And so the bartender's looking at his kid, and the wife's looking at the bartender, and she's like, "Aren't you going to say anything to the lad?" And he goes, "Yes, good job." So there's four people in America that have holes in one little hinge that don't know they don't have them.
That is amazing.
That's the kind of story that's in there. Because where's that going to fit in an SI piece or ESPN piece?
Nothing. No. I love that, man. That is great. What is the, I guess, most unique course you've ever played, heard of? You want to?
Well, I went around the world once, and I'd like to tell Kyrie Irving this.
Yeah.
I started in Denver, and I flew east. They let me go around the world for a month. Remember when journalism had money?
Yes.
They had so much money. And so I said, well, hell, I'll spend some money. And I went around the world playing the most unforgettable holes in the world. Mm-hmm. And I collected them. But when I got back, Mulvoy quit. You remember Mulvoy, and now the new guy was a tennis guy, and he didn't want it. So I've been sitting on this. So me and my buddies, we go to the course and say, hey, he's writing a book about the 18 most unforgettable. Could we play your course? And they're like, yes. So we had free golf for 20 years on this deal. But there's a hole in South Africa where you got to hit over alligators. There's a hole in New Mexico that's 3 miles long and it's 50 feet around.
Okay.
There's an underwater hole in the Caribbean. But my point to Kyrie Irving is, I flew east and kept flying east, and I ended up back in Denver. How did that happen?
It's wild. It's almost as if the planet is round. What do you mean an underwater hole? What are you talking about?
In the Caribbean, you hit your shot, and the balls are weighted, and you scuba dive down, and then you finish out the hole.
That sounds very involved.
It's fantastic. Can I tell you one more quick story?
I imagine you're not measuring your putt, like you're not sitting there waiting for somebody to like figure out where the putt breaks.
Yeah, there's no honors. Just before the shark comes, get it in.
Yeah, hit when ready.
Right.
Hit when ready.
Here's a true story. Okay. Also, I mean they're all true. This guy, this pilot, Air Force pilot, 1965, Vietnam, gets shot down into North Vietnam, goes into the Hanoi Hilton, the worst prison in all of North Vietnam. He's in a 6-foot by 7-foot cell. I saw it. Dark. There's no windows. His name was Colonel George Hall from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He finds a stick. He's in isolation for 4 years.
Yes.
Family thinks he's dead. The U.S. Army, Air Force thinks he's dead. He finds a stick and he starts playing golf every morning. Kisses his wife, gets in the car, drives through the streets of Hattiesburg, waves to the guy that runs the used car lot, waves to the grocery lady, pulls in, kids with the shoe shine guy, puts on his spikes, gets to the first tee with his 3 buddies, swings the stick. Well, he was a pretty good college player, so he paces off, say, 255 yards for his drive. Now he's looking at it. That's about an 8-iron, 135 yards, hits the 8-iron, paces that off. Now he's got a 25-foot putt, played like that every day, shot even par, went home, waved at everybody in town, in his mind. For 4 years, he did this every single day, always at his club. Mm-hmm. He was finally released, 102 pounds. He left at 180.
Jeez.
He comes to the podium at Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and the whole town's waiting for him, right? Uh-huh. And he's about to give this speech that he's been thinking about, but suddenly he sees the grocery store lady, and he sees the used car guy, and he sees the shoe shine guy, and he sees his buddy, and he starts crying. And he finally gets out, you people, this game saved my life because I was able to leave the cell. Mm-hmm. And I had so many people I knew in prison who died, just went mad. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I mean about this book. Golf, because I was pretty much raised by my brother, because I didn't really have a dad and my mom was sickly. Golf really raised me and it became my family. And so that's why this book is sort of my Valentine to that family of golf, which I know it's not for everybody, but believe me, it really was woven through the fabric of my life.
So help me golf. While we love the game, Rick Riley here. A few more minutes left with the author, writer, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. It's a beautiful story. I got to be honest with you, Matt. So What's your game like now? What do you got now?
6.7.
Damn. That's pretty good.
I'm Catholic, but I've been going into even synagogues and telling rabbis that I shot a 63 at Bel Air. Greatest day of my life. Every putt went in the hole.
Yeah.
I made 9 birdies. The hole looked like an open manhole in New York City.
Yeah.
I couldn't miss. And then the next day I shot 82. And that's golf, you know?
That is golf. That is golf. You play with Al?
Play a lot. I've tell you my Al story.
Al Michaels stories are always welcome here.
Hillcrest Country Club, 16th hole, me and Al and another guy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Al's not good. Al's like this. He's not good. He plays every day and he's not good. I'm like, Al, how about we mix in a lesson this week? No, I got it. And he's so fun to play with.
Of course.
But he's terrible. I mean, come on. And we all love him. But he can't play dead.
He's got the bucket hat.
He can't play dead in the cowboy movie. He's terrible. So anyway, 16th hole, I hit this at 9-iron, goes over the pin, right?
Yeah.
And it starts to trickle back. Mm-hmm. Al launches into play-by-play mode. Al Michaels.
That's great.
Maybe the greatest play-by-play guy in history.
Could be. Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on, folks. We're not done yet. It might be. It could be. It is a hole-in-one for Riley. Mm-hmm. And I went crazy. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, God, I wished I'd had that on tape. But really, it's still on tape in my brain.
Of course.
And every time I see him, how about that call on the hole-in-one? Well, what about I made the hole-in-one? The call. That's how Al is.
He is the greatest.
He's the best.
He really, really is.
I mean, and have you ever asked him about miracles?
What? You mean
Do you believe in miracles?
Sure.
He says, people think of a stage that we put it in after. Does he tell you?
Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
He's like, we didn't even have time to eat a sandwich. We were in such in a hurry. And he says, I don't know why. I was just born with this thing, and this stuff just comes out.
Because he's the greatest of all time.
He's the greatest play-by-play guy I've ever seen.
Al Michaels is, and the crazy thing is, for all those years on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, they didn't have a rules analyst because they didn't need one. He's the rules analyst too. He knows the book. He knows exactly down and distance.
And he's
knows
also
time.
so
he knows
great at
timeouts.
situation. The best I've ever seen.
Unbelievable.
Quick question, a quick story. We have so many great announcers at Bel Air. Uh-huh. We have Vin Scully. So one day, Vin Scully makes a hole-in-one. Wow. And we're all sitting around the smart table. That's where, and I got to hear this story, right? Because it's Vin Scully, greatest storyteller ever. So Vin, tell us about your hole-in-one. Well, you know, it's funny. I was playing with a guy that would make a cup of coffee nervous, and I wasn't really having a banner day. Well, lo and behold, I hit the shot. It sounded like I hit it with the morning paper, Sunday, mind you, and it wasn't that good. But you know, Rick, 2 wrongs do make a right. I hit the wrong club, and what do you know? The ball goes plop, plop into the hole, and I expected the end to be. And this story brought to you by Farmer John. That was so great. Vin Scully telling stories.
Oh my gosh. You know, he was the last announcer we'll probably never see again in baseball where the broadcast, certainly locally here in Los Angeles, would do away with half a commercial pod. Just so he could come back like around 5th inning. You've seen when he used to do the Dodger games locally. They would come back like top of the 5th, like a minute earlier than any other inning commercial break, just for him to turn around, field behind him with a microphone and just spin a yarn.
Oh, it was so
and just
great.
be Vin. And then now it's time for Dodgers baseball. Let's now turn around and watch the game. And who does that anymore? Like, they'll never, like, could you imagine a broadcast saying, you know what, we'll do away with 2 sponsor opportunity commercials just to come back so you can tell a story as a broadcaster?
Well,
like,
I have a
never
disastrous story. I did 3 innings once for an SI column, and I trained with the Colorado Rockies, trained for a week, and I had this whole list of baseball, you know, no mas pelota, if a guy hit a home run, no mas pelota if it was a Spanish player, or
oh my gosh,
close the shutters, Granny, it's Halen Horsehide. Terrible stuff, right? So
this is prepared, unlike
prepared. 25 things, right? And I'm on the mic.
Yes.
Play-by-play guys here, color guys here. Jeff Kent rips it to deep right, and it's clearly gone.
Yeah.
And I go, that's way back there. And he's like, he's pointing to my sheet.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's way, way back there. And he's like,
it's your
and I'm
time.
like, and I go, it's a homer. That's all I said. It's a homer. And I was so depressed. And so I had to read an ad, I remember, for La Quinta Hotels. And I go, La Quinta Hotels, that's Spanish for next to Denny's. And the directors,
that's a problem.
The directors in my ear are like, we never make fun of the sponsors. What are you doing? I'm like, I didn't know.
Rick, one night on NFL Network, Thursday Night Football. I believe it was in New England, and it was a Kentucky Fried Chicken blimp shot. It was sponsored by Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they give you a card to read and whatever. So I'm the host, and I'm doing my read for Kentucky Fried Chicken. And Warren Sapp sitting there says, Kentucky Fried, that's not real chicken. Popeyes is real chicken. And so,
no.
Oh, God, yes. So snap cut to 3 days later. It's time for NFL Game Day highlights, which Dion, Mooch, and I did, brought to you by Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh,
they did so many make goods, I damn near had to put on a bolo tie and a fake beard. Everything was Kentucky Fried Chicken because Warren Sapp said that's
beautiful.
not real chicken.
Well, I actually got a letter 2 weeks later from the president of La Quinta Hotels. And it said, well, we know you like to kid around. Here's 2 nights at one of our 43 billion La Quinta hotels. Yeah. And I wrote him back, haven't I suffered enough? No, I didn't.
Oh, no. I thought the punchline is you went and it was actually next to a Denny's.
Probably was.
I thought that was the punchline.
It probably was.
Oh, my gosh.
God.
So Help Me Golf, Why We Love the Game by Rick Riley. Thanks for coming in here, man. May you shoot a 54 and get $54 million for it, because that's the prize on the Live Tour.
In the book is the guy that shot the greatest round in history of 55.
Okay.
At par 71 in Oklahoma. His name was Rian Gibson. And I called him up and said, I'm going to try to shoot a 55 and see how many mulligans it takes. So I flew down there.
Yeah.
And it's a quest. Do you know how hard it is to shoot a 55? There's scramble teams that are won and they don't even shoot 55. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I imagine so.
So the point was, I do it in 57 mulligans.
Okay.
But I didn't tell Reen that I played from the red tees. And I hope no one tells him that. I really wanted to do it.
Oh, man, Rick, thanks for coming in here and sharing all those stories. Greatly appreciate it. Did somebody have Rick Riley on Twitter? Is that why you were at Riley Rick on Twitter? Or you don't even know that?
A fake guy.
Somebody with an egg avatar back in the old days?
Yeah, just trolling me constantly.
Man. At Riley Rick on Twitter. So Help Me Golf, While We Love the Game, available now where you get your books, and a perfect gift in time for Father's Day. Thanks for coming in, Rick.
Thank you.
You're just down the road. We'll have you come back anytime.
It was really fun. Nice studio.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate it.